Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim Paola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition. It's Florida Talk Real Estate. We got you for the next 2 hours of infotainment. Great to have you with us. I see you out there, 92.1, 101.7. Thanks for tuning in. Maybe you're on your free download, your iHeartRadio app. If you're not, you could be worldwide listening for free. Thank you very much for doing just that. And of course, you can live stream with us on a Saturday. There's two potential options right there. Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. On YouTube as well. That's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC, home of a ton of informational chunk videos and a live stream every Saturday morning. If you're with us out the gates, good morning and thank you. And of course, you're always welcome to be a part of the program, 877-927-6969. If you dial that up, you'll be a part of the program with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. Dive into the conversation at hand. The first voice you'll hear, the melodious tones of our producer extraordinaire, Jimothy, my brother from another mother. How you doing?
Hello, and good morning, Johnny. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm so good, man. Thank you very much for asking. Always nice to see you.
Excellent. Good to see you too, bud.
Saturday morning. It's the 22nd today of February. Just to timestamp it. We're live. I'm your old buddy, your old pal, Johnny C., your air traffic control. Let's get your starting lineup on a Saturday morning. Let's say good morning to Mike Rauch, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. I'm looking right at you.
Yeah.
So hello, my friend.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
I just realized it's 2:22.
It is.
It's amazing.
222.
Quite a coincidence.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it coincidental?
It happens not that often.
I guess
Once a year.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean,
it feels like it at least about once a year. Nice to see you, dude.
if there were other things you're doing only once a year, you'd say that's not very often.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess it depends on your perspective of time and reality, right?
Oh, no, it's very often then. And like, the time is universal or, infinite.
We do that.
It's like it's nothing.
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do. Good morning to Ross Komarinetz. He's with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. What's up, Ross?
Not a whole lot. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you as well.
I can't see Mike, but I think he's here.
It's
We got a lot of equipment in the way.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about our configuration in the studio, but Ross is like most of my time on my left. It's so weird to have you on the right.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's weird being over here.
yeah, is it comfier? Is it awkward?
Kind of cramped.
Is it cramped?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
You look good on video, though.
Yeah, you look great over there, dude.
Yeah.
You really do.
Mike?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
I can't see. Okay.
There you
Present.
I couldn't see him. I can't see him.
And if you are streaming with us currently, you're like, what is Jim doing? He's trying to get me on camera, I believe. Of course, for 13 plus years now, I've told you he runs a top producing Keller Williams team, our fearless leader. And you'll find him at the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. That's Jimmy D, Jim DePola. Are we set over here? How you doing, my man?
Well, we're doing the best we can.
Of course, when I show up with
good enough.
a minute before the intro starts, it's hard to set my camera up.
Well, there's so many cameras in here now that I didn't notice, but we're on to a second line on the StreamYard. So a second layer of the thing. I didn't even see your camera on there. So anyway, happy South Florida, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good February. It was nice. It was a little chilly today. Did everybody like that or not like it?
Yeah.
Ross is no, but he's cold right now.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that cold. I mean, 69.
Yeah.
It's like 70 degrees.
Hey, the groundhog was right.
Oh, it came out early or something?
The groundhog on Groundhog's Day?
Yeah.
Groundhog said
Winter.
we're going to get longer winter. So
Yeah.
yeah, we got another blast.
That's if it comes out early or it doesn't see its shadow. I forget.
I saw a shadow,
Yeah.
so that means.
If you see it,
Oh,
so you're
I
getting
see.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that really scientific?
I
Yeah.
know. It's very.
It's very scientific.
It's one of the early
You kidding me?
examples of American science.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Because Puxatawny Phil is the one that gets all the hype.
Yeah.
But there are many groundhogs that they do this
I've
with.
heard there's like one in Georgia.
Yeah, and they don't all agree. They all have different takes. It's kind of like Google, right?
Yeah.
As the main source for your search engine.
So
There's other options.
So one of those could
Ask
be like
Jeeves.
a DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, Bing that stuff, baby.
Oh, yeah,
Let's go.
Bing. All
Right.
It's
But-
like a credit report score.
So Phil's
Kinda.
the Google.
True.
He's the
Everybody else is.
Google. Yep, he's the Google. That's exactly right.
Gotcha.
How and why that became, I don't know.
I've never really thought about it. So what happens? He pops up, and then if the sun is at the right angle, he'll see his shadow, and then he'll go back in.
Longer winter, right?
Yeah.
And if not, then here comes spring.
So it kind of depends on the direction he's looking when he pops up, or does he actually spin around?
I'm gonna be honest here, if I can.
I've never
I
really
don't
watched
think, I don't think I've ever seen it
because it's a full-on festival. It's like a big thing that they do in that town. It's Puxatawny, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Oh,
the name
I've
of the
seen the
town
movie.
too. I believe.
It's probably
right?
I've seen it.
Bill Murray comes in,
And as I'm like trying to think if I've like seen like maybe replays on the news or something, I think I'm literally viewing the movie in my head. So yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Can
Well,
you imagine waking up and going doing that? Though?
maybe
Like,
somebody could call in. Somebody who knows. They could call in.
Sure, you could do that.
Yeah.
Hey Jim.
Hey,
So I think he saw his shadow.
yeah. Every time I think of that Groundhog Day thing, I think of the movie, and I really hated that movie.
What?
I hated Groundhog Day. Oh my god,
geez.
I hated that movie.
Hate's a strong word.
And I'm a Bill Murray fan. I like Bill Murray, but I hated that movie.
You don't like groundhogs?
Bummer.
I don't like the whole idea of over and over and over again. That whole part of the movie really bothered me. That whole
Jim's like, this is
try
my
it
life.
over again every day.
This is my life.
So you didn't like 50
Call.
First Dates?
I actually liked that movie. That movie was okay. I know,
What?
isn't that weird? I don't know why I didn't like the other one. Maybe I was.
It's got to be something else then.
I think I was younger and I was a little too impatient when I was in the movie theaters. It's like I don't.
Oh, you saw it in the movie theater.
Yeah, I actually saw a movie theater. I'm old. I do that. I
Driving.
do that.
That could
in a
taste your
speaker next to your
Yeah.
car.
But you didn't walk out of the movie, Jim.
Did I walk out of the movie?
Yeah.
No, I didn't walk out.
I walked out of one movie in my life.
Did you?
Did you?
Yeah.
Gods must be crazy.
No, it was. I went and I was on a date. I was probably, I don't know if it was high school, maybe just like close after that, but it was The Crying Game.
Oh, The Crying
And
Game?
I
You didn't see the ending?
Yeah, I know. So I got about halfway through and we were just like, what is happening in this movie? So now I've seen it since then and it's actually a good movie, interesting movie at least. Not one that, but I walked out of that movie in the movie theater because it was just too
That movie.
wrong vibe.
Did you ever see that movie? This is like a really off movie. If you saw it, I'm very surprised. But Chuck and Buck, have you ever heard of that movie, Chuck and Buck?
Kids,
No.
You
Kids.
have? You have heard?
you have to announce something like that because there's children in cars, Jim, listening to us right now.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
It doesn't ring a bell.
Mike White was the writer and director of that, and he's now White Lotus and everything. But that was like his very first movie. That movie was like The Crying Game to me. As I was watching it, I really didn't want to watch it, but I watched it to the end anyway. And The Crying Game, everybody was too whiny in that movie for me. A lot of the characters, very whiny people. I'm like, this is getting me upset.
I've never seen it.
It's a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, exactly, right. Hey, we do have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into it. We have the first market report for 2025 came out. Completely different than what the news says is what the real estate report says, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about property taxes. Remember I mentioned, what was it, the middle of last year? I said, hey, Texas is going to end their property taxes. How come Florida isn't doing it too?
Right.
Well, Florida's got a bill out there where they're exploring the idea of ending property taxes in Florida. So we're going to take a look at that.
Is there a bill or the governor contemplating it? 'Cause
There's a bill to contemplate.
Okay.
There's a bill to contemplate,
Okay.
right? So what there's a bill
The
that
government's the best.
there's a bill to, I know you got to love politicians. There's a bill to study it till October 1st, right? So there's a bill out there to see if they want to do it.
Well, like, because we haven't collected taxes long enough to understand the impacts of it. We
Yeah,
got to
exactly.
spend money to
Exactly.
actually. Okay. Makes sense.
So but it's kind of interesting, Mike, the reason why this is really interesting, we have, and this is a great success story. I'm so excited about this right now. One of the shout outs, I'm kind of rolling all over here, but I have to do this shout out because we're talking about this specifically. Matthew and Adina, they came to us 11 years ago, and Matthew is a decorated war veteran. And thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
And he came to us because he was in big trouble with his house, and he worked for a government agency, and he was being laid off. This is like 11 years ago during that crash, and he was losing his house, and he was very proud, like most people, they're very proud people, and it was really tough for him. Bless you, Mike. Really tough for him to go through this and have his children watch him go through this and everything. So we were able to, with the law office of Paul A. Krasker and Short Sale Innovations, able to short sale the house that he was in trouble with, and then got him to walk away debt free, so he didn't have to worry about this hanging over his head. And he got some money to move, which was good. And for 11 years, I've been calling him and his wife Adina and just checking in and saying, hey, if you ever want to buy again. And every year it was no. Well, every couple of times a year it was no, or no answer, right? No. And then last week they called me up out of the blue. Adina, who is my second person that I call Force of Nature, I'll talk about that later. She called up and she goes, hey, I think we're qualified for a mortgage. I really want to buy this house. And she already had one picked out and everything. So we got her over to Mike. Mike is the perfect person for Matthew and Adina because Mike is, top notch when it comes to VA loans.
All loans, but yeah, VA also.
Yeah, but VA loan. Yeah. Any loan, any type of loan, right? So,
especially VA.
Yeah, but VA especially. So this is the first time this ever happened to me. Mike sent me a message and said, don't worry about property taxes when you're budgeting for mortgage payment. I'm like, well, what's up with that? So what is up with that, Mike? Why don't I have to worry about property taxes for Matthew and Adina?
So one of the exemptions that's allowed, so you have your traditional homestead exemption that many people are aware of, but there's additional exemptions like a senior citizen exemption. It's additional like $5,000. They also have a disabled veterans exemption. And so if you actually have 100% disability rating with the VA, you will be exempt, 100% exempt from the ad valorem portion of your property tax bill, which is the large percentage of it.
Wow.
They won't be exempt from the non-ad valorem. The non-ad valorem is like the services like trash and
schools and things.
No, schools in the ad valorem.
Oh, schools are an ad valorem.
Yeah, so think of like services that are provided versus like budget items for the county. So yeah, any veterans out there who have 100% disability rating with the VA, if you haven't done that part of your homestead exemption, you're really, really missing out. But the good news for them is we get to exclude the property tax, that portion of the property tax, from their qualifying payment. It's kind of based on like, hey, you're going to take advantage of this. We actually have them sign an affidavit saying, hey, they're going to be filing the homestead, they're going to be filing the veteran exemption, they're eligible for it, and then we don't have to include that in their qualifying payment, which means essentially
hundreds of dollars, isn't it?
Oh yeah, hundreds for sure.
Yeah.
More than well, not thousands, but hundreds and hundreds.
Depending on the home you buy, but yeah.
I would say it's something like the number I use is
300 to 500,
I use 1.6% of the, as a tax, basically a good estimate for taxes. So on $100,000, it would be $1,600 annually.
Yeah.
So 300,000. What's that? 3,800? No.
1,532.
Yeah. Huh?
3,200.
You said,
You
said 116.
No, 1,600 times
48,
3. Yeah, 48.
4,800. 4,800.
Right? So a year.
So that comes out to $400 a month. Yeah. So you're looking at $300 to $500 a month for most people, depending on the price point.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing amount.
It is.
So that really opened up a lot of opportunities for them on their budget of what they could buy. We've gone out a couple of places already. We haven't found the right one yet. And one of them, I really thought it would have been a great deal for them. It was a 2-story house in West Palm. It was a much better neighborhood than the first house we looked at. The first house was in better shape, though. The second house we looked at, better neighborhood, gated community, low HOA. But that community, half the community has wood frame houses, and they're in really bad shape, most of them. The siding in all that community, the exterior siding for the homes, very, very bad condition. Most of them, they just don't upkeep them the correct way.
Right.
Now, this one, they clad it, so it used to have what's called like T111 siding, which is a thin 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch piece of plywood, basically, that has some decorative grooves on it, and they call it T111 siding, right? And that's the siding that was used over there, and it's over time, if you don't take care of it, After a while, you could actually just stick your finger through the siding and just feel the insulation behind it, right?
Good stuff.
So
yeah, man, it's wood. It's not even pressure treated. So
yeah,
you definitely
Mike
have to.
knows.
Yeah, I had it on my house.
Mike had it. So what this family did on this house that we looked at, they did what you did, which is put the hardy plank on, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you put hardy plank on yours?
Yep.
Hardy plank is a cement fiberboard material. I love it. It's got a 50-year lifespan, very fire retardant. And if you prep it the right way and you do all the right things like the backing behind it and make sure you do all it the right way, it could last a very, very long time. Don't have to worry about wood rot that much anymore. You know, a lot of really positive stuff with it. They put it on this house, Mike, and but it was not in good shape at all. There were a lot of it broken, pieces broken, like it was brittle. I'm not even sure it was cement fiberboard. It might have been a different type of product because it was so brittle.
Maybe it wasn't the name brand.
Yeah, man, might not have been that name brand. And it was all beat up, and there was a ton of wood rot around the house. And
not good for VA loan.
Right, VA.
Not good for any loan, but especially VA.
VA. So we had to pull out on that one. Thank God they had us working it because a lot of people might not know that, you know, that house wouldn't meet VA standards. There's a lot of agents that don't even know about VA and FHA standards for appraisal, which is not any harder than other ones. They're just more diligent on making sure that there's certain things. Like I have a house right now, Mike, that doesn't have carpeting in the bedrooms. So with a VA loan or an FHA loan, if you have cement floors, unfinished cement floors in bedrooms or anywhere, that's not going to fly with FHA or VA, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So
unless it's like an area where that's normal. So, for example, an unfinished garage floor, of course, unfinished basement. That we have a lot of that, but that would be fine. But yeah, if it's normally covered, then FHA and VA are going to want that to be covered.
Yeah. So you have to be careful on this stuff. But what a great success story! You know, we helped them get out of that jam. Now they're ready to buy again. So I'm really excited for them. I was so happy when they called. It was so great. And when I met him in person, I haven't seen him in 11 years, right? And it was just like when we saw him 11 years ago. It was just great. So really happy for them and looking forward to helping them out. Also, we had Sophia and Andres decide to work with me to help them buy their first home. We're going to be doing that this summer. The reason why we're waiting for the summer is that right now they can get, Mike, I always get this wrong. I call it the Florida Bond Program. Is that the incorrect name for it?
I mean, that's it. Florida Bond is one of the programs that Florida Housing offers for down payment assistance.
Is that the $10,000 one?
It's one of the $10,000 ones.
Okay. So I call it the Florida Bond Program. Anyway, that's the Jim DePola name. But
you're not the only one. I was just talking to like one of the very top executives at our company about that program, and she called it the Florida Bond, and I was like, no, I'm talking about this one. And she's like, yeah, Florida Bond. So she did the same thing that you do, which is just
she's smart.
Umbrella. Well, she is very smart. She is very smart.
Yeah. So the Florida Bond Program, this bond program I'm talking about, it gives you $10,000 to help you pay for your
down payment
and closing cost down payment assistance. However, you do have to give the money back if you refi, you sell the house, you pay the loan off. Or if you move out and you turn it into a rental or something, it's not your primary residence, you're supposed to give the $10,000 back, but with no interest.
Right.
You just give them back the 10 grand. So if you keep that money for 20 years and then you sell the house, you're giving them back 10 grand, not 10 grand plus interest. So that's a really great program to get people in the door.
Very good.
But there's another program that's actually a little better, and it's called the My Florida Hometown Hero, or the Hometown Heroes
Hometown
program.
Heroes, yeah.
I'm getting confused. Might say Florida Homes.
Yeah.
The Hometown Heroes program. Well, that program, you can get 5% of the loan value of the house that you're buying. Now, can you explain the difference between the purchase price and the loan value so that when people calculate this, they understand the right?
Yeah, so essentially, when let's say you're doing an FHA loan, traditional FHA loan has a 3.5% down payment requirement. So if the purchase price of the home were $100,000, your loan amount would be 96.5% or $96,500, right? The other 3.5% is your down payment, so that $3,500. So when they calculate the down payment assistance on the Hometown Heroes program, it's 5% of the loan amount, not 5% of the purchase price.
Right. So it wouldn't be 5,000, which is 5% of 100,000. It would be 5% of the 96.5.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And there's a minimum 10,000. So, you kind of work out those details. But essentially, if you're buying a $300,000 home, you're going to get a little bit less than 15,000.
yeah, and
depending on your down payment.
I was just checking for one of my buyers, just messing around with it. So if they were to buy a 450 home, 450,000, in this example I use, checking with the taxes and everything, it was going to be 33,000 out of their pocket, right, to buy the house. Then if they use the Florida bond program, they'd only have to bring to the table 23,000, right, because they get 10 from the state. But with the Hometown Heroes, they'd be getting almost 23,000 back, and that's an extra $13,000 compared to the other program. And if you only need 33 and you're getting 23, 10,000, you're in your home.
That's great.
And it's the same caveat, like, that grant, or that's it's a second loan essentially, but it's what I call a silent second. So it stays attached to the home, it's zero interest, zero payment, but when the first loan is paid off, that money is repaid. And also if you were to move out and keep it as an investment property.
So so with Andres and Sophia, what we're going to do is we're going to start setting up the searches right now, and really understand the market of what they're looking for. And then we're not going to get out in the car and actually start looking until probably late April, third week of April, fourth week of April, because the program doesn't start until July 1st, Mike?
Yeah, so it's refunded every year on the fiscal year. So Florida's fiscal year starts on July 1st.
So we're probably, based on years past, we're probably going to get $100 million put into that coffer for the Hometown Heroes program. And based on the last couple of years, they spend about $10 million a week roughly with that program. Last year was a little slower, but just rounded off to $10 million a week. I think it's going to be more this year. I think it's going to be more buyers using that program this year. I think it's going to be hotter.
It could be. It's I think we have 2 years. Essentially, it's only been 2 years where they opened it up to all first-time home buyers. So the original conception of this program is called Hometown Heroes, and it was for a limited set of occupations, which was basically first responders, right?
Hospital workers.
Police, fire, frontline kind of first responders. Then they expanded it to something like 50 professions, which included medical, included education, county employees, things like that. And then when they actually put it into law, so it was now codified in the Florida statutes, they opened it up to all first-time home buyers. So that $100 million, which used to last, would last all year, it went very quickly, and it was months, right?
2.5, 3 months, and it's gone. So
sometimes you could stretch them out, as we've done that before and been very successful. Kind of once the funds are depleted, well, there's some fallout, like loans that were reserved but didn't ever close, and so those funds would come back, maybe $2 million at a time, or 1.2 million, and then 900,000, and then eventually it's like, okay, the funds are gone, like there's no more.
So we're going to start getting ready for them so they understand the market really well. And then what's going to happen is we're going to wait. And then if we find something really hot, Mike, let's say we found something May 7th, okay, but we know that the funds aren't going to be available till July 1st. Could we go into contract and have a closing July 10th and use that money? Or
yes.
Right.
Yes.
Good, because that's what my plan is.
Yeah.
My plan is to go find the house like in May, June, with the longer close so that we can get the money. That's what the plan. It's a much better plan to do that, buyers. If you're saying, hey, I want that program, don't wait until July or even late June and say, I'm going to start the process now and try to get everything going. I'm not just talking about the application for the Hometown Heroes. I'm just talking about trying to qualify for the loan, understanding what you want to buy, all of that stuff. Don't wait till the last minute,
right?
Because there's tons of other people that are going to be prepared, waiting in line already for that money, and you're not going to get that money.
Is there a negative to being in line, getting prepped and applied right now, and then not using it?
No.
Could you reapply?
You're not really even applying.
Right,
You don't apply for the down payment assistance like that.
You just get in
basically you qualify for it, just like the guidelines for, FHA a loan approval, right? So there's basically guidelines as long as you fit in within the guidelines, which are things like there's income limits, right? You can't your household income or the borrower income, depending on the program, can't exceed a certain amount. So there's minimum credit score requirements as the maximum DTI. So things like that are what I would call typically overlays, so rules on top of the rules.
Right.
But as long as you're within those, it's like you just have a loan originator who knows what they're doing, and you're gonna get in the program.
So yeah, you're touching on two really important parts there. A loan originator that knows what they're doing, and understands the program and understands how to get at that money.
Yes.
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com if you're looking for that kind of knowledge.
For sure.
And then it's essentially about just getting in line.
The process is you reserve your funding.
So if you were,
it's almost like locking a loan.
There's no negative to doing it.
No.
If you don't use it.
That's right.
And then you can kind of, when you are ready. So in the instance that we're talking about right now, looking for like a July 10 close, are we getting them in line right now? Like, is that process?
You can't
required?
reserve it. So I won't be able to reserve the funds. But what Jim is saying, the reason we can do this is Jim's saying once those funds become available, the sooner you can reserve your funds, the better.
So nothing can be reserved right now.
You can't reserve anything until July 1st. You can reserve the 10,000, that program, and you can actually switch from one to the other. If like we might do something like that, right? Like, hey, let's reserve the 10K, and then when July 1st comes up, if we're still there, we can do whatever. None of this happens until you have a contract, right? So you're not like reserving months and months in advance.
Okay, so this has to be in contract.
Yeah, you have to be in contract. That's definitely one of the rules. But we can, like we do, the whole loan is underwritten in-house. Like everything is done just like it's a normal FHA or conventional or VA loan. And then, which is why the answer to Jim's question is like, can we get started? We have a contract. Let's get the file approved. We're going to have appraisal. We're going to have, loan approval. All of this stuff is going to be happening. And then as long as our close date is after the funds are available, we just reserve the funds, make sure we meet those guidelines, which of course we will.
Sure.
And we can do it very quickly, right? So the process of underwriting the loan is exactly the same. The only difference is you have to, number one, be, part of the program as a loan originator, as a professional. And then you have to know what you're doing, able to get in and reserve.
Check.
Yeah, and of course your company has to know what they're doing too, right? The underwriting and the loan delivery and all the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thanks for shedding a little bit of clarity on that for me, because as I'm kind of walking through it in my head, I'm thinking like, are there negatives, or is there some caveats to it? And the answer is no. Really.
There isn't.
There really isn't.
There isn't.
It's. I mean, you do have to pay it back, so you're taking out a loan, but you're taking out a loan for the house anyway,
it's
right?
For money that you maybe don't have and need, and that's never. And if you do have it, so that's the other perspective. Is
you can still get it.
Sometimes you can still get it. Why spend your money if you can spend the state's money, and you're going to pay it back one day, but let them kind of throw the extra.
I learned a long time ago, OPM.
Other people's money,
Other people's money.
Other people's money.
Especially OPM at 0% interest.
Cheap money.
Right?
Yeah.
0% interest. And no payment. Not only is it 0%, there's no payment obligation at all whatsoever. So it's even better than like, hey, you go to your furniture store and get the 3 year 0%.
Right.
Well, no, you got to pay that back in 3 years. Right. Or pay a bunch of interest.
Right. As long as you qualify. And I mean, there is the one key.
Well, first time home buyer is the number one thing, which technically
within 3 years, right?
It just means that you haven't owned a primary residence in the last 3 years. And that's a little that primary residence. I could own 10 investment properties. And as long as I haven't owned a primary, I can still qualify for this down payment assistance program.
And even if it is your primary, but it's not homesteaded, you could consider that a rental? Is that how you?
No, you'd have to not have lived there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The definition of primary, like homestead is a bonus being a primary, but that doesn't make it your primary. It's like where do you live?
Where you live.
Yeah. Do you own where you live?
Yeah.
Essentially.
But 3 years is a short window.
A
Or
lot of
primary.
I've run into many people who haven't owned in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going to be probably buying later this summer, and I'm now a first-time home buyer again because I've decided to slum it and live at the beach for a while, be a beach bum for a while.
For a while.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know how you're going to move away from that. You might as well buy a
Let me
condo on
tell
the beach.
you, last night with the windows open and the breeze blowing through the windows, and then hearing the waves crash on the beach, it's like, oh my gosh.
How do you leave that?
Well, when you hear the jackhammer all the time in the building, boom, 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 right, for working on the concrete. And let me tell you, now that I lived in one of those complexes
that went through it,
they're never going to finish. They're going to do it over and over.
It's like road
and
construction.
over.
It's
and
like the
over again.
Beltway.
It's never going to be done. It's never going to be done. They're celebrating in the building I live in. It's the 50th year anniversary of the buildings, and I'm like, these places were not built for 50 years. You know,
That's a little scary.
The toilets in your house, they can smell very septic-y because the cast iron pipes are so bad in these buildings and everything.
Boy.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot, and they take very good care of this building, right? They have big crew
Sounds like
maintenance workers that are there all
Yeah,
the
and this
time.
is what it's cared for.
Imagine
Yeah.
if they didn't take
Right,
it.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And they spend a lot of money to care of this building. It isn't a poorly run building. It's just that it's 50 years old and it wasn't really designed, I don't think, to be much past that. So this community, they spent $30,000 3 years ago. Each unit had to spend $30,000 to do certain upgrades just for the downstairs pool area, right? Now they're spending $70,000 a unit for the concrete restoration. And I just think that watching how they do this now, actually physically watching how they do it, every time they do this inspection report that they have to do, the required report for structural integrity, there's always going to be something to do with these older buildings.
Yeah, I
So
feel like that.
It's going to be never-ending assessments. Eventually, what's going to happen is everybody's going to throw up their hands and they're just going to tear it down and build new stuff that's stronger and better. That's the one thing I'm
Is that
learning.
your official outlook on condos here in
Yes.
South Florida?
It really is.
Jeez.
They're tear down.
Jeez.
Yeah, they're tear downs.
Tear
They
it down
are.
a bit. They're going to just cost so much until they just got to tear it down.
They only last so long. And, the bottom line is I don't think that most people are going to want to pull $50,000 a year plus their assessments, plus everything they're paying. I mean, plus their HOA fees and everything, and pull out on average, $15,000 to $50,000 a year to deal with concrete restoration all the time. Eventually, it's better to tear the building down and build new construction. And that's the other thing. I think that this is one of the times in Florida that we're going to see new construction being different. Like the construction is going to be different. I think they're already doing that kind of like in the Keys, and they're doing that on the West Coast because all the hurricanes hit. All the houses now have to be lifted, so they all have to be like stilt homes, or what do you call those, Ross, when they're lifted up in the air like that? Stilt homes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm making it up. I made it up.
You're the
But the
GC,
stilt
so-
homes and stuff like that, because they want that breakaway on the first floor, so there isn't as much
For
damage.
anticipated
Yeah.
rising waters.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I really think, I was thinking that I'm wondering if, the, what do you call that? That 3D printing houses. I'm wondering if like they're going to use special materials or something like that and make it more cost effective. This is an opportunity right now where we can change things up in the industry, the construction industry, to do different types of construction. It doesn't have to be everywhere. Like Ross was saying right off before we went on the show about how the central part of Florida, windstorm isn't as expensive as obviously on the coast, right?
More so, windstorm isn't unavailable, because we were talking
Right.
about citizens expanding windstorm to the entire state. And I said, one, we talked about it too, windstorm isn't tough to get in the center of the state.
Right. It's easier to get it in the center of the state. So that construction might be a little different than on the coastal areas, maybe, right? Like that could happen. But we'll see. I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. Just want to do a couple shout outs for all the people on Facebook and YouTube. And yes, you can catch our show as reruns on Facebook, YouTube, and iHeartMedia app. I want to say hello to Kelly. Thanks for coming in. I haven't seen you in a while, Kelly. So thanks for stopping by. Francis, as always, thanks for being a big fan. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mrs. C's mom. Johnny C's mom, for stopping in. And Betty.
Kelly gave you a nice comment here, John.
I didn't even
Johnny.
see what he say.
Oh, yeah.
She says, Kelly C?
Kelly C? Yeah.
Kelly C. She says, Johnny looks like he could stand in as a bass player for Limp Bizkit with the bread.
Nice.
I think she meant beard.
Beard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
with the
Probably
beard.
beard.
It must have been beard. That's good, Mike. You figured out beard from bread. I didn't get it.
Nice.
The bread.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
Johnny's got the bread too.
Little
That's
sandwich.
right.
Yeah,
Little
pocket
cheddar
full of
one
bread.
pocket.
Let's go.
Bread
I
in
like
the other.
sourdough.
Nice. Oh, yikes.
I'm joking.
Yeasty.
So anyway, shout out to Matthew and Adina, getting back to everything. Thanks so much for trusting us. We're going to help you buy your home. We are going to use those down payment assistance programs, which is going to be awesome for them. And if you're thinking about buying a home, you're thinking, hey, nobody's talking to me about these down payment assistance programs.
Yikes.
You got to give us a call, because
Yeah.
we're experts on using government programs that are out there that help people just like you get what you need. And we're pretty good at all the programs to know what's out there for you.
And yeah, I guess it's worth repeating the cash requirements to buy a home are oftentimes the one factor that's stopping somebody from being able to get
So true.
to buy, right? Like credit's right, debt to income is right. They just don't have enough cash. Where's the cash going to come from? This is actually a good time of year. People are doing tax returns. They maybe get a little bit of that tax return money back, and that's good timing. Down payment assistance available. We're kind of in a market, Jim, where sellers are willing to negotiate seller credits, right? They don't have so many offers where they're just rejecting anything where you're asking for help. So where the things are converging, where if cash is the one thing, because it's hard to accumulate the thousands and thousands of dollars that are required, Johnny. Like, it's really hard. You know, people have, not saying you should get in over your head.
Nope.
Right? If you can't save now, that should be kind of an indicator of where you need to be from a payment perspective. That's always a challenge. But people are able to save thousands of dollars, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could do that successfully. But what happens when you need $20,000 to buy a house, or $25,000 or whatever? So down payment assistance has really been a boon for people in that position, and they don't look back. Like, you get the house, you don't look back. Like, it starts, like, we don't have to preach like why home ownership is a good thing. But yeah, these programs are available. And if you're waiting for July, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Not saying you don't wait till July to close, but if you're waiting till July to start, to make sure your credit is right, to make sure your debt to income is right, you're going to be too late. So you don't want to miss that. You also don't necessarily want to be in the rush, right, of people who are trying to buy a home in July. No, you want to get into contract before, because the people who are waiting, they're all going to be out there in July, and all of a sudden you got competition for your house.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned taxes too, man. The value in having expertise and understanding what you need to qualify for a loan from, your taxpayer and your loan originator. If you're a private business owner, or your money's accumulated in weird ways.
Yes.
Yeah. And oftentimes what you're trying to do is pay the least amount of taxes, right? I mean, that's so American. Pay as little as you can. And, there's all kinds of the little caveats and loopholes and things you can do to pay as little taxes as possible. But when you're trying to qualify for a loan, you need to document income.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you talk about tax time, boy, get ahead of filing your taxes if you're in a weird positioning like that. I mean, if you're just regular W-2, and I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. But if you do have weird means, and I don't want to say weird means, but different means.
It's just like sometimes the goal of tax preparation is to minimize taxable income. So you take advantage of every deduction the IRS allows. We're talking for self-employed borrowers mainly.
Man, you say it so much better than me.
Yeah, but I talk about it a lot, right? Conceptually, I think conceptually it's like, okay, I need to minimize taxable income, so I'm paying as little taxes as possible, because that's hard. When you're trying to qualify for a mortgage, you kind of want to have maximum taxable income, right? In order to qualify for a payment that's suitable, or I say the biggest payment possible. I don't want you going crazy on your payment. I just want you making the call, like drawing the line how high to go.
Well, we're talking about being able to get a loan. I mean,
being able to qualify for a loan, you
Yeah.
want as much income as possible,
That's
just generally, right? So this is actually a very good time. I'm glad you brought that up, John. A very good time of year for self-employed borrowers, where you're the one-man show or you have your small business. If this is the year, or maybe even next year is the year that you're going to be buying a house or potentially buying a house, you need to talk to a mortgage professional who knows how to analyze your income tax returns and tell you, hey, you might want to think about adjusting.
Yep.
How you do this.
Get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to do after the fact. In fact,
I did it with
might
Mike.
be impossible.
I asked Mike back in the day if I want to buy a house at this price, what do I need for my income to be? So he gave me the numbers, so I know I'm not going to fudge from that number, right? If anything, I'll report higher, but I'm not going to report lower. Or I'm not going to be able to buy what I want to buy.
Right.
So
That's
Even,
wonderful.
hey, guy, I
Wonderful
want you to feel
knowledge.
bad about like having to talk to me about this. Even Jared from Perry and
Perry
Group where-
CPA Group
talks to me and say, hey, Mike, or when he did, this is the year we're buying a house, let's talk about what kind of income needs to be on the returns. Because at the end of the day, as a self-employed borrower, you have a lot of flexibility on what your taxable income is, right? Which deductions do you take and which ones don't you take?
Sure. And
It's,
as the
it's pretty
tax
much
guy,
as simple as that.
He knows he's in that game, but
He's
doesn't
in
know
it, but
what
he's like, wait a second, let me
how do I
talk to
qualify for my loan?
Yeah, what do I need?
Right.
I don't make too much income, but what do I need?
right.
Yeah, so don't be embarrassed to ask these questions. I mean, that's what we're here for. And we don't know the answer. We'll find out the answer for you. We'll do the research and figure it out.
Always.
Mike,
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Oh, sorry.
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com on Facebook, on YouTube, but your resource for the entire team. Pros, experts in all these fields that touch the world of real estate is FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
thank you, Johnny. I had a question. Now, this is going to be real live stuff in real life. Okay. So I have a customer who went into contract. We're the listing side. Okay. I had a customer, buyer goes into contract. The loan approval was on the 20th. Okay. The loan approval.
Okay.
Never got anything response back from the agents.
No response, like you asked and they didn't reply?
We didn't hear anything from them at all. Okay.
Okay.
And then the day after the loan approval was done, they said that they were having a problem with the loan and that they were going to add other people onto the loan. And that part of the problem that they had was that the transcripts that they submitted to the lender did not match the transcripts in the IRS.
Nice.
Right. So either they lied or they had maybe an estimate of what the transcript would be, and then they used that but something went wrong.
But your loan approval period had come and gone.
Right.
Okay.
So the loan officer didn't seem to care at all or worried about it.
I mean, it's not his deposit.
Well, but that's what I'm kind of
His or
asking
her.
is do you see if we didn't get into this too much yesterday because I didn't want to get in a fight with this guy. And it's so funny. This mortgage guy, when I called him up, I asked all the questions I normally vet mortgage brokers do. And I ask a lot of questions, and Mike knows I ask a lot of questions to mortgage broker. And most of the mortgage or loan officer or mortgage brokers, most of them handle the questions pretty well. But once in a while,
They're not off-put by you asking the question.
but
generally.
some of them are.
Yeah.
And some get really PO'd that you're asking them these questions. And I'm like, I don't
Red
know
flag.
I don't know you from Adam. Why are you mad at me for asking to make sure that you did what we would expect to do for the loan? I don't know you from Adam. Maybe you did it, maybe you didn't. There's no wrong answer. I just want to know if you did it or not. And most people say, you get a pre-qualification letter saying that you're qualified for the loan. It doesn't really tell you in great detail, most of those letters, as to what they actually did to find out if the person's qualified, right? And most agents only have this rudimentary thing saying, were you loan prospected, right, or desktop underwritten? That's the two terms they use, desktop underwritten or loan prospect. Those are two computer software programs that basically loan officers and mortgage companies throw your information into to see if you will qualify based on conforming loans, pretty much, correct?
All the loan types, conforming. So
Yeah, so-
FHA, VA, they all run through. So Fannie Mae has a product called Desktop Underwriter, and Freddie Mac has a product called Loan Prospector. So you got DU and LP.
Right, and those things. So everybody says, are they DU'd or they DU'd? But
Right.
let me tell you something. In real life, you can mess around with that software by inputting information in there and get you the result that you want that might not be accurate. What do I mean by that? Ring, ring. Hey, I want to buy a loan. I want to buy a house. Great. Give me your social security number, right? Click, clack, click, clack. Okay, you got a 670 credit score. Great. How much money do you make a year? 85,000. Click, clack, click, clack. Putting it into the software system. Okay, great. How long you been working at your job? Click, clack, click, clack, right? And they go, okay, you're good for $500,000. And the person got this letter and they're running around. I'm good for $500,000. They don't know what the mortgage originator or loan officer set for insurance. They don't know what they set for taxes. They don't know if they budgeted anything for HOA or condo fees. They don't know any of that.
They don't know if you really make $85,000 a year.
Right. Well, that gets the next thing. Now, there's no proof that buyer that just got approved in the desktop underwritten that they really are making $85,000 a year. That $85,000 a year, $50,000 of it is Uber and Lyft money that is not reported properly to actually count, right? Or they have a different number than of their income that's on their tax transcript.
It could
right?
be,
All of that.
Uber's a great. I got a 1099 that shows $85,000 from Uber.
Mhm.
Okay, well that's not a W-2. That's not your that's not your gross earnings, right? That's what you pulled in for your business. Now, what do your expenses look like? You don't know that until you get the tax return,
Right.
Of course.
So there's all these things that could happen. So when I ask questions, I go way deeper than, hey, is the person DU'd? The first thing I say is, did you actually look at hard copy documents of everything that you need to get this loan? Have you looked at the tax returns? Have you looked at the pay stubs? Have you looked at everything that's supposed to be looked at, right? And I ask all these things. This guy was giving me attitude the whole time, right?
Which is just crazy. I mean, it's absolutely like Jim. Very common. You get a listing agent, a good listing agent will do the job for their sellers of vetting the offers that come in, right? Like it's your responsibility. Of course, we all want to close, right? If we're not closing, what the heck are we doing?
What are we doing?
Right. So the responsible agent will make that call, and it should go something like, hey, this is Jim. I'm calling. I saw you got a pre-approval for these borrowers on this home. Right away, I should be taking over the conversation. I shouldn't be waiting for
Mike
Jim
does do that too.
to ask me a ton of probing questions. I should be like, Jim, listen, I've been talking to these people. I got all their documents. I got credit pulled. Everything's documented. I verified it. Not only that, Jim, I don't issue pre-approval letters unless I'm sure that we're going to be good for it, right? So if you got my letter, look at it. It's dated today, right? It matches the offer. Like we've got the numbers on this home. It's going to close. Now, I can't control the appraisal. I can't control inspections. But as far as the borrower is qualifying, I have done everything I need. And I don't have people out there shopping and getting into contract if I'm not sure that we can close. Like that's how that conversation should go.
Exactly. And when I get answers like that,
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, and then I say, that's awesome, Mike. Let me just ask you a couple more questions. It sounds like you got it under control, but let me ask you this and that and this, right?
And I should never, ever get upset with the questions Jim is
Right.
asking.
And in fact, the really sharp loan officers and mortgage brokers I talk to, they actually compliment you, right? And I know it's puffery. Okay, I get it. But they actually say, wow, you're asking questions. I love that you're asking these questions. You know why they say that most of the time? They know you're a closer.
Yep.
Right? They know right away just by talking to you, you close deals because you're talking my language, right? So then they know I want to work with this person, right? Because
I appreciate you reaching out to me. Jim,
Yeah.
Right. Like, because we're interested in the same thing. Like we want to get to the finish line for everybody's going to be happy. And guess what? You and I, we've never worked together before, but this could be the beginning of a long relationship.
So with this current, it's so true. But with this current person I'm dealing with, his attitude was when I called him up yesterday and I said, hey, the loan approval was yesterday. You never called us. And now you're saying you have a problem?
Yes. Red flag.
He did not care. And I was like, am I missing out on something? Because the way that the contract is for the as-is contract, you have a certain amount of time to get the loan approval. It's one of your outs in the contract if you have a financed offer. You say, hey, I want to buy it for this price, and this is the type of financing I want to do, and you got to give me, usually a lot of people put down 20 days for the loan approval from the time you start the contract. So during that 20 days, you're doing your inspection, you're doing your appraisal, if you get that far. You are putting escrow deposits down as needed according to the contract. But as you're doing all that, you're applying for HOA if there's an HOA or condo approval. But as all that's going on, Mike behind the scenes from day one is going through the loan, making sure that by the 20th day or earlier that they have a loan approval to move forward. So my question...
And if you're going to have a problem, you should be extending the loan approval. You don't wait until the loan approval expires and then say, hey, we got a problem on the financing.
So what do you think about this? And I'm thinking this is what this guy's trying to do, okay? Because I'm trying to think, what's his end game? This guy's end game, right? I think he thinks his out is going to be that he did have a loan approval by the 20th, the 20th day, but it had conditions.
Yeah.
And he didn't say anything to us because
like
he had the
loan
approval, right? He had a loan approval, but there were underwriting conditions that needed to be checked. In this case, they had a problem with the transcript.
Okay.
Right? So let's say that a week later, 10 days later, they find out that they cannot close because of that transcript problem. Does that mean that they have an out to get their deposit back? I'm talking only contractually.
Yeah, contractually, the answer is no.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
So the buyer's agent, in conjunction with the lender, have put the earnest money deposit. How much is it, Jim? Just ballpark.
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. Just
$5,000-$10,000.
Right.
Something
like
that.
Yeah.
That money is now, it's at risk if the seller wants to go for it, and the seller would be within their rights and would win if it came down to court. That money is theirs.
And this mortgage broker did not care. And I talked to him about it. I was pretty PO'd with him myself when I talked to him. I'm like, this is the second person you're adding on to the mortgage. So originally it was one person on the mortgage. Then they said that they had a problem, so they put another person on. Never told us, right? Never gave us any documents to go to the title company to say that the document's changing. Now there's two people in the chain for the purchase. Never told us that. And now they're putting on a third person, right? And they never told us any of that. So that means that the title company wouldn't be able to close in the normal time period because they were going to be blindsided that there were these extra people involved in the deal that they didn't know about, which means they have to do more due diligence or research on the file. They won't be able to close on time. These realtors, and the realtors are worse than the mortgage broker in this one. It's bad. It's really, really bad.
Sometimes you get, there's like maybe logically common sense would say, hey, listen, I can't get my loan. Not my fault. Give me my money back. Let's move on. Right. And some people think that goes all the way through the close date. In some states, I'm licensed in multiple states. Some states, the contract is that way. Right. You have the entire time to get, if you can't get the loan approved. So there is a difference, and I don't know how deep you want to get into it, Jim. There is a difference, between the loan approval or the underwriting approval and what we call the clear to close, right? The loan approval, the initial underwriting approval is always a conditional loan commitment, meaning we have reviewed your file, everything we have in here, the loan is approved, subject to get me these last things. This is the underwriter saying, hey, here's everything else I need to button up the loan and give you a clear to close. Very common. We got to get insurance, a final insurance policy, right? So Ross might have provided a quote, but we don't lock in that insurance until we're sure we're closing. I need an updated bank statement, right? We're waiting for the tax transcripts to come back so we can verify that what you pulled.
I have one where the appraiser is asking us to do a repair for the
even
property.
that. Make sure it could be that we don't even have the appraisal back yet, and that wouldn't be a condition to get out, right? Once the loan approval period. So essentially, it's always going to be a conditional commitment. My job is to get it submitted within the right time frame, get the underwriting approval within the time frame. If we have problems, like if within those conditions there is something that I know is going to be a major problem, like that potentially prevents us from closing, I'm going to call you right away and say, hey, Jim, I need you to extend the loan approval period. I'm not doing that because I don't have the loan approval. I'm doing that because once that loan approval period expires, you no longer have a way to back out gracefully. Gracefully meaning you get your deposit back, right? So you have to extend that because ultimately you're not going to get the final loan approval unless you can overcome this, and you want to extend your period of time that you have to do that.
And that's all it takes is to extend
and so
that.
I think it's just like a misconception, and maybe common sense would tell you like, hey, what if I can't get my loan? That's not my fault, right? But there's deadlines. You have an inspection period or contingency. You have a loan approval period or contingency. Sometimes there's other contingencies, but those deadlines are contractual.
Right.
And they're
it's
important.
A contract.
Yeah. And if like this case where the date came and went, the contract will tell you, hey, listen, if the buyers haven't delivered, number one, they delivered their loan approval, meaning they gave you notice that they were approved, or they didn't do anything at all. Mm-hmm. Guess what? If the seller would then have the right to cancel if they wanted. If the seller does nothing, then the loan commitment is considered delivered. It's done. That protection, that period of time, the protection earnest money deposit is over. So the fact that they didn't do anything as of the date, that's it. Like if they can't close, your seller is within their rights. Now, whether or not they're going to go through the trouble of doing it, but they're within their rights to retain the earnest money deposit.
And you know, you have to look at the big picture when you're the seller, because it's very frustrating when you're going through this. But the big picture is you want to sell the house, of course. So you don't want to collect just the deposit money and then put the house back on the market and start the whole process over again. That doesn't usually, it's not worth your while and the headaches. Because let me tell you, even though that Mike is saying, and I agree with everything he said about if you don't give notice, you know, the deposit's at risk and you're going to lose. That's the way it is in paper world.
Yeah.
But when you get into real world, it gets much more complicated and murky than that. Remember that one couple, Mike, that we had together, a young couple, and they went into contract on a house, and then they went out and bought a car, and then they bought furniture for their house, and they were young kids, so they just went nuts, right? And then Mike found out that they had spent, the money that they spent was the money they needed for the down payment for the house, and they didn't have it anymore. And the sellers were livid. We were the buyer's agent. That was us on our side. And the sellers were livid, and they wanted that money so bad. And we did kind of lose the money. We were going to lose that, but
there can become a protracted, elongated battle over the earnest money. And so then sometimes it's like, well, do I have to get a lawyer involved? What's that going to cost me? How long is it going to take? And so sometimes you can kind of get away with it and be like, okay, you know what? The sellers aren't going to go through the trouble. The problem is they have the right to do so. And if it did eventually end up in front of a mediator or a judge, you know, you can tell which way it's going to go. Because essentially they got no leg to stand on.
The worst one I had was one you knew about, because one of your friends we used to hire as the attorney. And in this case, the buyer came in and looked at the final walkthrough of the house, and the sellers were not ready to close at that moment. It was like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning on the closing date, and the house was in total disarray. Right? It's like, how are you going to get all your stuff and make this in broom swept condition by the end of the day? It's just not going to happen. Well, the reason why is the couple that was selling it were divorcing, and it was War of the Roses. And they both had moving companies. They had separate moving companies because they were, you know, divorcing. Both moving companies didn't show up. And then over that weekend, the air conditioning broke, and both of them were fighting with each other. You hire the air conditioning person. No, you hire the air conditioning person. So they had nobody hire the air conditioning person. And by Monday, the day we were closing, the AC broke on Saturday. It was July. So by Monday, that you walk into the house and it was like 91 degrees in the house, right? So, of course, the buyers were very upset, no doubt about it, right? And they came in, it's like, we're not closing. And in fact, I don't even blame them for that part. But our team worked very, very hard, brought in 2 moving companies, right? We brought in an AC company. Thank you, Ewing and Ewing Air. I'll still say that to this day. because they fixed the AC for us without being paid until closing, right? And if it didn't close, we were going to be in trouble. But they trusted us that we were going to.
Yeah, close. I mean, the sellers have contractual obligations as well, which is to like, hey,
But the point I'm trying to make is there was $100,000 deposit. The buyers walked. The seller's like, well, I'm keeping your deposit because by 5 p.m., that house was in tip-top condition to be transferred over. Completely empty, cleaned, ready to go because of the hard work of all the contractors we brought in on an emergency to get it done. So we performed, but the buyer didn't care. They became emotionally like crazy town. So he was like, well, it wasn't ready at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we were like, but it was ready by 5. And
right. Now you get into the nitty gritty of the contract.
So both of them were
kind of right.
They were kind of right and they were both kind of wrong. They were both kind of cut off my nose to spite my face and I don't care. So the seller told me that the buyer made a big mistake and told me they lawyered up, right? And they said, we're lawyered up. We're not closing and we want our money back. So as soon as I heard lawyer up, I went directly to my sellers and I'm like, you got to go hire the law office of Polly Grasker right now, right? Because they're lawyered up. You don't want to go to a gunfight with a knife. So we lawyered up, went to media. The whole deal fell apart. We put the house back on the market, sold it to somebody else, got the same price or a little bit higher than what we got the first time. But the $100,000 was still sitting there. Over a year, that escrow deposit was not dealt with. They went to mediation 2 or 3 times.
Couldn't agree.
They wouldn't agree with what the mediator said, which was that they told the buyer, you're going to get creamed. Take 50% and be happy. And the seller's like, I'm not giving you 50%. I'd rather let the lawyers eat it up. And that's what they did. They hired lawyers. I called the lawyer friend that you have, Mike, and asked him a year later. I was like, whatever happened with that escrow fight? And he's like, oh, all that money's gone. It was all lawyered up, right? It was
gone
all
to the
lawyer
lawyers.
fees. It went all the lawyers. And the seller, he told me from the day he hired that attorney, that buyer's not getting a dime. And if it goes to lawyers, I don't care. I just don't want to see that guy have the money. And the buyer's attitude was,
I like it.
Yeah, and the whole money was gone, right? The whole money was gone.
There's a couple points if you were to wrap up, like if you're getting a class to agents on how to deal with. Number one is stay on top of your deadlines with your contract. Work with professionals who are also cognizant of that and protecting the buyers, protecting the sellers, working amicably towards a close date. If you have to massage the loan, you have to massage the loan approval period, like all that stuff should be communicated and negotiated and it's workable. Right? It's only when you ignore it or you hide it or it's like, oh, I got bad news. Let me sit on it. Like those problems. Like it's not unheard of to have to rearrange your loan structure. We call restructure a loan. So in this case, maybe there were like tax returns where the buyer supplies the tax return. Then you pull the transcripts and they're different numbers. Okay, what's going on there? Got to figure it out. So, but in general, as a buyer's agent, you want your earnest money deposit to be as small as possible, and you want your loan approval period to be as long as possible, so as close to the close date as possible. So if you do those two things, now, of course, you have to get your deal signed, right? So you're going to have to figure out what works. But in general, small earnest money deposit, long loan approval period. So you're protecting that earnest money. As a seller, you want the opposite. You want the biggest earnest money deposit possible, and you want the shortest loan approval period possible. So there's going to be some middle ground to get your deal signed. But if you're working with one agent who knows what they're doing and one agent who doesn't, you're going to get all of what you want. And, $100,000 in earnest money, guess what? That's a pretty big, attractive, if things go wrong, we're going to fight for it. Yeah. If it's $2,000, seller's going to be like, okay, whatever. So I had one, Jim, it was $20,000 and I was in court testifying a year and a half later. And I actually did the loan. We did everything right. The buyer kept his earnest money deposit. The sellers in that case who were litigating for it had to give the money back and pay the lawyer's fee on both sides.
Wow.
Yeah. So they really made a mistake.
Wow. Yeah. And
a year and a half worth.
Yeah. All that can be taken care of usually just by having the right professionals doing the right thing for you.
Who communicate.
Yeah. And these what a bunch of stumble bumps I'm working with right now on that case, and it's been really bad. It's been bad since day one, but we always jam it through. I know we're going to jam it through because I always do, but it's just like I cannot believe, and we're going to leave off on this note before we take the break. I know we're running a little late.
Just the super executive, somebody just hire Jim or hire Mike to do your stuff for
yeah,
you.
exactly.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And if you can put stumble bum in the conversation somewhere, that's a bonus point.
So I wanted just to give you a little stat just to show you like how what we're talking about. Me and Nancy, my admin, who's been with me for 12 years, she's been really going through a lot of pain with a lot of agents that are not following contractual procedures at all.
Ugh.
And we have one agent that has been going back and forth with us to get into contract on a deal for 5 days, and we still don't have the contract right. She will say, fix this and this and this and this and this, and then get it signed and bring it back to me. 5 days we've been going back and forth because the agent doesn't know how to write a contract properly. And Nancy's telling them exactly what to do. Right. On this line, change this. On this line, change this.
Can she just change it?
Right.
And send it?
No, because the sellers, Nancy's attitude is, why am I going to do your job? I'm being real.
I'm telling you how to do your job. I'm not going to do it.
She goes, I'm already telling you how to do it. I'm not doing it for you. You got to do it yourself. And that's her attitude.
I got a PSA for all your real estate agents out there. If you're in that situation, don't forget that your loan originator does need a certain amount of time to get the loan done. So maybe adjust your close date too while you're delaying 5 days from your original offer. Right. All of a sudden, my 30-day close turns into a 20-day close because you can't get the contract executed properly.
Yeah.
And nobody adjusted the close date.
Well, Nancy takes care of that too because she just saw the numbers because of that. Like she'll just saw all the change in the dates. Let's go ahead and take a break. I want to ask everybody this one question, talking about experienced agents or not. So in the United States last year, there were 1.55 million agents. What percentage of those agents closed more than one deal last year? Just one or more. How many of those 1.55 million agents, percentage wise, closed at least one deal last year? The number you're going to hear is going to be shocking because at least it was shocking to me.
Okay, well, we got that and a lot more. Another just about hour remaining on this Saturday. Thank you for being with us. Of course, you're always welcome to join us. It's a 4-minute reset. You can dial in right now at 877-927-6969. If you're not comfortable on the radio, believe me, I understand. Remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is on Facebook and YouTube. But that .com is everything. Your access to the entire team, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Pros. These are experts in their field that do work cohesively together. When you are trying to buy a home, sell a home, you're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do. Anything that touches the world of real estate, you need a real pros pro to handle it. To get done what you're trying to get done right by you and on time. We just highlighted a bunch of things that can happen. You got to have people that are great at what they do. Lots are good at what they do. How about people that are great at what they do? You can get them at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. We're back in 4 minutes. Thanks for being with us every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate. We're right here on Real Radio.
We're everywhere you need to be. Find your favorite show at RealRadio921.com. Real Radio weather.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. A mix of sun and clouds today with temperatures in the low to mid 70s across the area with an onshore east breeze. Then cool and partly cloudy tonight. Temperatures in the 50s inland, 60s at the coast by the start of Sunday morning. Expect mild conditions for the end of the weekend before rain returns on Monday.
This report is sponsored by True Green. We're back in the miller's yard who now use True Green. Their lawn started looking like a golf course, and PGA Tour golfers made it their favorite stop. Get a PGA Tour quality lawn for as little as $1 a day at TrueGreen.com. Exclusions apply. See TrueGreen.com for details.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Komarinetz, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Make us the #1 preset on your car radio and on the free new and improved iHeartRadio app. Listen for all your music, radio, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Yeah, go ahead, dial it up. We are live on this Saturday, February 22nd. We got about 45 minutes remaining for you. If you'd like to join the program, dial in 877-927-6969 with your questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. If you want to dive into the conversation at hand, you're more than welcome. Jimothy will line you up there. What's up, our producer extraordinaire, sir?
Hello, and good morning.
Always good to see you, my dude.
Good to see you too, buddy.
Johnny C., your old buddy, your old pal. Mike Rauch, he's the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. He's present on this Saturday.
Presente.
Nice to see you.
Hi.
Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. He's here as well.
Here.
Present. We're just talking Turtle Fest. It's you said your office is like right across the street from Loggerhead?
Yeah. Well, is that a food festival or a appreciation? So they're grilling turtles. You got turtle kebab.
Yeah. Turtle soup.
You got turtle soup. You got poke turtle. Fried turtle.
The best.
Oh, I like the fin soup. I like the turtle fin soup.
Turtle fin
Yeah.
soup. Yeah.
That line's always
Is that
so
different
long.
than a turtle feet?
Yeah, kind of.
Nice.
We keyed.
So
I hope it's sir.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah,
please.
Sorry.
Nice to see you, Ross, as always.
Oh, thanks.
And of course, our fearless leader, 13 years, I've told you, plus that he runs a top producing Keller Williams team at the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. You'll find Jim DePola. There's Jimmy D, everybody.
I am here. Yes, I
Loves
am
the
here.
turtle fin suit.
Love stepping on Johnny. This is my life.
Yeah,
Sorry about
come on,
that.
step away.
What day he's gonna blow up?
Never.
Hey,
Step on my cubes.
Yes. Spit on me.
So, I just want to bring this up about insurance. I'm really happy to hear that one of our customers just got what I consider to be an extremely low home insurance rate for a pretty large house. I mean, it's 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, pool, shed on the property, and the property insurance, full coverage, right? This is full coverage, Mike?
It's what Ross would call his premium quote.
Yeah,
so basically the best
normal
quote,
with the normal deductible and full replacement.
Premier, I'm sorry.
Premier quote.
Yeah.
Under $4,000 a year for this house. That's pretty amazing to me. That's kind of more like what we used to see years ago. Do you think that policy, and you might not know this, Ross, but do you think that policy like a year and a half ago would be around that price? Or do you think it would be much higher?
Probably would have. Let's see. So that roof is 5 years old.
Maybe
I
about
don't
the
know.
same?
Yeah,
You're
I
not
don't. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more.
But this is well under the $5,600 a year average for Florida for insurance policies, and this is pretty much an average home in a way. What I mean is average size and
1,700 square feet.
Yep.
I had, just for comparison, I had them estimated a little bit above 5,000 as like what I thought the insurance would come in at.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're making decisions, they're making decisions about buying the home based on that number. And then we get a policy that's over $1,000 less than my estimate. That's a nice, it's a pleasant, and for like the premier coverage, right? This isn't even like a budget option
quote or something.
Yeah, this is kind of like what you would ideally want. And it's $1,000 less than we thought. That's
winning.
It's winning. It's also doesn't happen often. It hasn't, certainly over the past few years, right? Normally it's like, hey, if you want the number I was hoping we would get, maybe we have to go budget, cut corners on something. So this was a pleasant surprise. Thank you, Ross.
You're very welcome.
And the borrowers are going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
And it's also just a jumping off point, right? Like they can.
Yeah. They say maybe we don't need that much of this, or I'd like to increase my deductible, but still keep all of this on there. Yeah.
So pleasant surprise for Mike. Were you kind of surprised by what you found, or is this kind of starting to settle into your norm?
I'm jaded.
Yeah.
So, I kind of.
He stopped getting surprised. He's just like, it is whatever.
Yeah.
It is
yeah.
what it
I mean,
is.
these are the rates. Or, that my mentality went from, because I was used to being like, oh, these rates are good, to now these rates are 50% higher. And then and then higher. I just stopped looking at premium. It is what it is.
It's crushing.
Yeah. The premium is what the premium is, right? If we need to make it cheaper, there's things we can do to make it cheaper, but that's what it is. So I kind of stopped paying attention to the premium unless somebody said, hey, we need it to be less than X. Okay.
It's kind of like, I feel the same about mortgage rates at this point, where it's just kind of like, it is, we can't control it. It is what it is. Like we can do our best to find you the best scenario for you, but it's,
it is what it is.
We're in this ballpark,
and
right? You're not going to be anywhere other than in this ballpark.
Yeah. So just real quick on that. This is our 5th week in a row where we've been going down.
Holla.
That's a good thing. We're at 6.8. I forgot. What are we at?
6.85.
6.85.
Which
our high was 7.04.
Did you get in on that? Remember you were timing
I totally locked it in.
Yeah, you locked it in there.
Yep.
So we're over the 5 weeks. We haven't even gone down a quarter point, but we have gone down 5 weeks in a row. So at least it isn't going up anymore.
It's not going up,
right? It might go up next week, it might not, but at least it hasn't gone up for the last 5 weeks.
It's gone down 2/100ths 3 weeks in a row. So we were at 6.89.
Right.
and 6.87. Or no,
what I get for locked
6.7, then 6.85. You lost 2
That's what I
$100s,
get for
Johnny.
locked in.
Yeah. So at least we're seeing the mortgage rates starting to flatten out for at least a little while. But if you're expecting it to go down significantly, forget about that.
I mean, I get that question a lot still. Like, when are rates going to get better? And I kind of have to, I'm a little bit, I'm like Ross, I'm a little bit jaded, so I don't really know what get better means. But if you're talking about getting down into, the fives on the regular, I don't know when. I don't know how.
But don't hold your breath on that one,
Right.
because you are not going to make it if you hold your breath on that one. All the national economists are saying that we're going to be at the rates we are now is going to be pretty much this year.
It's kind of where we should be, though.
It's not horrible rates.
Shame
but
on you,
is
I'm holding
different-
out I'm getting that 3 again.
But
I don't
Ross
wanna
had a
spend it,
really
but-
good comment and an insight that I thought was really, really good. Could you talk about what you talked about like the average home back then versus today? Because there's a really good point to make on this.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard it, but somebody was talking about, we talk about, oh my gosh, it's so hard to buy a house these days. You need way more money than you did back in the day. It's just so different. And I heard somebody saying, yeah, but back in 1950, the average square footage of a house was 900 square feet.
Huh.
Now the average square footage of a house is like 2,500.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've redefined what certain parameters are.
Right.
What a house is, what's considered poor. What's considered poor nowadays has an iPhone, a 75-inch flat screen TV.
You mean an
and a
iPhone
car.
from 2 years ago?
Yeah.
That's poor.
It's outdated.
Yeah, but I mean, most people update that thing every year.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. Like even homeless people have phones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's a very weird concept, right?
Yeah.
Especially phones that cost $1,000 to buy. I mean, just the fact that we're saying that, like, there's a time, guys, when all of us were like, what does a phone cost? $300 for a phone? Like, we were getting there. And then it was like $800, $900. Well, they figured it out, Johnny. They just let you borrow the money and pay it back over 3 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
No
It's
interest.
finance your phone.
I bought sign this contract, you get the phone for free.
Yeah.
I bought a clear cordless phone from Radio Shack in 1994 for like $50.
Nice. You still have it?
That was pricey
wish.
then.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Cordless. You were on the cutting edge.
Did it have any neon in it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's why you had to get the clear one.
Yeah.
But
That's sweet.
Ross's point that he
Yeah,
heard
very good
from reading that stuff is actually a good point. That the houses are more unaffordable, not really because of the interest rates, but because of the prices themselves of the houses, and then of course insurance recently has been higher.
So we just got to go back to go to tiny homes.
Yeah,
That's
if
right.
we went back
Hey,
to
if you
a
want to go back to
smaller home,
1950 times
Right.
prices and
right,
qualifying,
exactly,
you just got to get a
It's
tiny home.
smaller
That's it.
Also, the
It's
square
smaller.
footage, one thing I just came to mind is also we're building like taller ceilinged homes, right? So now it's not like 8-foot ceilings, or you
Right.
got 12-foot, 14-foot ceilings. That's you
More
have to
expensive.
remember, part of what your insurance costs you is based on what it costs to, what do they call it, to rebuild the home. Why is it
Replacement
yeah,
value?
the replacement cost, right?
That's
So
the driving force. of it.
so the driving force is, what if you had a complete total loss, a fire, for example, or something, tornado comes through, what would it cost to rebuild your home from the foundation up? And that is very dependent on estimates of building materials and labor costs and everything like that. So as that stuff goes up, of course, the cost to replace the home is going to go up, and the bigger the home, the more modern the materials. Like, it's just an expensive
They're just
proposition.
different houses. The houses today are more expensive, just structures. They're bigger. They're more intricate.
The bells and whistles that are in there.
All the extra nails that the county
third nail,
requires.
that
Third nail, man.
That extra
That's
nail
what's doing
killed
it.
everything, right there.
Extra
Yeah,
$8, man.
But I wanted to do just some really quick shout outs, just really quick. We had 3 appraisals come in last week, and all 3 came in. So we all had 3 listings. All 3 listings were appraised and approved.
Now, do you
Everything
lose
came through.
sleep before they're in, Jim?
There was 2 of them I was concerned about. Daniels I was a little concerned about. Not too concerned, but a little bit, because the owner bought the house 18 months ago, and the price was significantly higher than he paid. But he did do a lot of renovations over those 18 months.
And the market hasn't gone up as much as that increase.
Right. So I was a little nervous about that, but we squeaked through on that one. I don't even know if we squeaked because I don't know the appraised value, but I know that we got the appraisal we needed. And then there was another one where I was really worried, where I had a very cranky appraiser last Friday, a week ago.
That's always an
yesterday.
interesting thing.
And I was very nervous because the last time I had a cranky appraiser like this, that's the one that didn't appraise a couple months ago. So my radar was like, and this family's gone, this is the same family that was going through the crazy mortgage broker with the bad realtor. So I'm like, oh my God, this family's gone through hell and back. But it appraised, thank God. But now we got the loan approval problem with that one. So who knows what's going to happen with that one right now. But congratulations to everybody. Your houses did appraise for what we contracted them for. So congratulations on that. And I forgot to do a shout out last week. And it's really important I do this because I really liked working with him. It was John. John came to us about 4 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. His mom had passed. It was very rough for him, but he needed to sell his mom's home. She had lived there a very, very long time. And the house needed a lot of work. So he was very emotionally distraught. Every time he went back to the house, it was very emotionally difficult for him to deal with that. So he wanted the house gone as fast as possible. We got the house sold in like 5 days. It was an investor special kind of thing. An investor bought it. Everything went well with the closing. John came to us because he had to deal with the probate in the estate for that house. Once again, John, like many other people, they did write the will on a piece of napkin on the coffee table or the kitchen table kind of thing. I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but that's kind of what they did.
Yeah.
And so that created a problem when they try to actually sell the house because the paper was written on was worth about what it was written on, piece of toilet paper. Joking. But it took us a little while to get that cleared. Thank you, Law Office of Pauly Krasker and Shrine and Title to get that cleared up and taking care of it for us. John was really happy at the closing table. We'll have a beer sometime soon.
Good.
So thank you, John, for trusting us to get that house sold for you and to deal with the legal issues to get the house sold. That's one of the things that we specialize in. We're so much more than a one-dimensional, hey, you want to buy a house, sell a house, come to me. We help you with so many other different ways if you need it, and we're here for you. So give us a call.
FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Yes. Now, let's slide into property taxes, okay? I've been promising that we're going to talk about this. Last year, I think it was around the summertime or something last year, Texas was toying with the idea of eliminating their property taxes on homes. And I was like, hey, we're supposed to be the sister state of Texas. We're supposed to be like a mirror state. Why don't we end our property taxes? That would solve a lot of problems for mortgages. Because of the high insurance bills, it would be offset by not paying the property taxes. But, being a former government, well, not even a government, but a former reporter, I know that those property taxes are pretty heavily needed for the services we have. And how would you make up that difference? Like our sales tax, I think, is 6% in Florida for sales tax.
Okay.
I mean, what would that have to be? 9%, 8.5%, 10% in order if you would. You waive the property taxes, the money has to be made up somehow.
Well, the property taxes are all like county to county, right?
Yes, that's true. It's not
if you're doing
taxes.
state, it's going to be a different kind of approach, and that's a budgeted aspect for.
But I think that the state would end up telling the counties you're not allowed to levy property taxes anymore.
Right.
I think that's the way it would work.
But then the counties are going to say, but where's our budget come from?
Well, then it's going to be like sales tax and things like that.
But that's a state level.
It is, but you could also add in.
But also the counties, because the county sales tax differs by every county.
Yes.
So the counties can levy their own sales tax.
I don't know if I ever realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
that's
school board.
true.
School board, like, hey, pay an extra penny so that we can raise the money for the school district.
Oh, yeah. I guess we do vote on those kind of things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never really added that up. That means I'm going to pay different tax rate in different county, though.
I always remember going to
like St. Lucie is the highest tax rate in the state.
I remember going
sales
to
tax.
like
For
Indian,
sales.
like going to see my dad in
Millage.
Bureau, and it
Millage.
was
Yeah,
different
millage, thank
than it would be here.
Yeah, no doubt. It makes sense. But as you say it, I'm like, how? But clearly, I guess
So So then that got me thinking, what happened to Texas, right? Because they're ahead of us in this process. So did they drop the property tax?
Their power grid craps out every
think?
time it gets cold. That's what happens.
They couldn't use their calculators because they ran out of energy.
Yeah,
so they couldn't
had no
figure
power.
it out. Yeah. So did they eliminate property taxes or did they not? What happened, do you think, in Texas?
I'm gonna say no.
I think it's a bad decision. So
my prediction is no. There's just no way to make up the kind of money that they would be losing. And like you could say, very topical, like cut the budget, right? But Jim is saying taxes pay for the services that were provided at the county level, which includes infrastructure, but also education and just the state of your county, right? Kind of like the State of the Union. The state of the county is very dependent on what the budget is. So I don't know that budget cuts is an answer.
So here's what Texas found out. If they were to end their property taxes, which is one of the highest in the nation, right? It would cost them $81.5 billion a year to end the property taxes, right? So that's what they'd be losing for what they're collecting.
They would
but
lose
the way they
out
wrote it, the way Newsweek wrote this was, they said it would cost them 81 point. I was like, how does it cost them? It just means they have to make up the difference, right? But 81.5 billion for Texas, right? Which I'm thinking Texas and Florida, one of the highest populated states in the in the country, other than California and New York. We're right up there with population size, so I feel like Texas is going to be very similar.
I would think so.
To that, I think our average price home in Florida is a little higher than Texas, but other than that, I think that we'd be very similar in a lot of this. So they said they can't. They still want to do it, but they can't figure out a way to make up the difference for the money yet. So Texas hasn't figured that out. Now, Florida, what's happening now is. The governor is supporting this idea to eliminate the property taxes, and
it just sounds like a bunch of it sounds great, and it's just never going to happen kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. But one thing I do, and I've asked this many times, and nobody's ever. When I say nobody, I mean politicians. I've never heard anybody talk about this. The amount of money that we've collected from 2018 to 2024 in property taxes has increased something like 31% in that 8-year period, right?
Because the home value is increasing?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But my thing is...
I didn't get 31% more services.
Exactly. So they are making so much, the government is making... and I've been saying this for a while, they're making so much more money doing the same exact thing without any extra expenses.
But we don't really have they built new schools? Are they redoing roads? Our
population has not increased to have a 31% increase in your property taxes. Our population has not increased that much to add that many services.
Many of the homes won't go up. So if real estate has increased 30% over that time, and I don't know if that's what's actually happened with the taxes, but if real estate is increasing 30%, my homesteaded home, my taxes won't go up 30%. They're limited to
collected 30% more.
I just did some math on here. So let's say your property tax is $4,000. Mm-hmm. That is 6% of $67,000.
Okay.
Right. So in order for that sales tax to make up that difference, I would have to spend $67,000 at a tax rate of 6% to make up that $4,000 tax.
Well,
so basically,
be a good consumer.
Yeah, if you switch it to like a consumption tax.
What I'm saying is that 2018, if they set a tax rate to pay all the costs that they need to, and they weren't running a deficit, right? And in 2018, they needed 30. They were getting 31% less than today.
Yeah.
Right. Where's all that extra money going? And I've been saying this for a while. It's like, when the property values were increasing and the government was collecting more taxes, I'm okay with that as property values increase. But there should be kind of a ceiling. And I know they're going to say, well, Save Our Homes is the ceiling, right? You can't go more than 3% year over year on your property tax bill. And that's true. But there's a lot of but it still comes out to 31% over that 8-year period. And I feel like there's a lot of slush money in there that they're either just sitting on,
could be,
or they're using for extra stuff that they wouldn't if they didn't have the money.
I heard they're going to build a golf course out at Jonathan Dickinson.
Oh yeah, and the hotels and everything too, and the pickleball.
I think they audited it pretty well.
When I think pickleball, I think Jonathan Dickinson is where I want
That's
to go.
right. It's
like to think they audited it pretty well, but everything costs more. Everything costs more. And if you're going to get a new squad cars, you're going to upgrade this tank, these choppers, everything's more than it once was.
Well, you got a point there.
That 30% can get sucked up real quick. Yeah. I just hate hearing things like, oh, we can't get body cams because they're too expensive, when you're talking about making 31% more. We're talking about a county, right? It's like 31% more.
I see the overall number, but if you look at it, like I understand what you're saying. So I used to think that about St. Lucie County, right? So that's where I live, and that's why I think that way. With the way it's expanded, and you think of all these, I mean, it's quadrupled in 20 years. All right. So I'm sure that number is probably even higher in St. Lucie County.
Right.
But how many more roads are there to maintain? How many more traffic lights are there to maintain? How many more patrol cars and policemen did they have to hire? How many more fire department members did they have to? How much more garbage has increased? So has that, gone up the cost?
Oh yeah.
That's where I say the
devil's
cost
advocate with that. Okay. So, and I understand that point. And you guys are probably closer to me, but I'm going to be headstrong about this. Okay. Before the house was built, you were just paying property taxes on a piece of land, which was not very valuable as far as taxable income to the government, right? Yes, you're building new roads and you're putting infrastructure in, but you're also putting in a house that's going to have a way higher tax bill than that vacant piece of land just sitting there before you put in those roads and built that community. So they're getting a lot more money. There's a lot more services have to be paid for, but government should be, and I'm just talking about government in general, they should be spending what they have. I know that.
You want them to be efficient?
Yes, I would like government to be
But if you give it to them, they're going to spend it.
You shouldn't be pissing anybody off with that statement.
You can't use the E word, right? The E word now. But the thing is, though, is like, I just think I've been saying as the property value started increasing after 2016 is when I started raising the questions about this. It's like, wow, we're really growing again, but it doesn't seem like we're getting any tax breaks. Every year they raise our tax bill, or they kept it flat. They didn't go backwards. They kept it at least flat, or they raised it. We didn't really see people dropping the tax bill. I'm talking about all the cities with their millage rates. You didn't see too many drops. You saw flat or minor increases, right? I just don't, I still always.
I get your point, because I'd love to see those numbers. I'd love to see, when you have that much more income coming in from the newer homes, right? Because the older homes that are already there are only going to go up 3%,
right?
Regardless of value,
right? Unless they're investment or secondary home,
as long as they're homesteaded, right? So but I see your point, I really do, because that is a tremendous amount more money that the counties are getting
over 8 years,
but. Is the expenses equal to that? I'd love to see those numbers.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I just that's why I always raise the question is.
Well, every year homeowners get the trim notice. The trim notice tells you what the budget's going to look like, what they're projecting for this next year, and you could compare trim notice year to years past to, you could say, well, where are they increasing their, what they're budgeting for? Is it I see here, I'm just looking at the categories. So it's library, it's county, it's South Florida water management, it's schools, children's services, healthcare, fire rescue. Like, these are the categories where those taxes are, allocated. And
could it be that they're, we got extra money, the firehouse, let's just redo it. They think they need a new gym. Or, I'm not saying.
I'm
that
thinking
happens. That happens.
Even in your own personal life, sometimes you got good years, sometimes you got slow years. What do you do in the good years? You start spending money maybe on stuff that you have put off that you couldn't.
Deferred maintenance.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Maybe you need your new driveway. Finally, you can do it. Resurface a pool.
Sure.
Install a deck. Do siding, right? Like put your roof on finally.
Through your community standard, what your community wants. Like in Royal Palm, we love our parks.
And
yes,
money gets spent on the parks.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
that's part of that community kind of standard and understanding. So I mean, every community is going to be different, but that money's collected differently in different
I
counties.
mean, we all live in areas where the beautification of the community is important, right? So having things like the lawns and in the public areas cut, right? Having your trees look nice, having your bushes look good, having just beauty nature around is important, right? So it's very easy to cut that stuff off,
real easy,
right?
If
Like,
it's not
that's
important
not
to you.
important,
Yeah.
right?
We kind of went through that a little bit during COVID, because remember how many government agencies just completely shut down, and they were only open like a couple of days a week and only for certain limited hours, and that was it. And they scaled back on a lot of maintenance stuff and things at that time. They really cut back. They really got austere at that point. It'll be interesting to see about these property taxes. If they could figure out a way to eliminate the property taxes, if they could do it, looking at people's tax bills, it really does affect their ability to buy a house or not buy a house. And we go into great educational detail with our buyers before we even get in the car to understand that whole process. Greg and Diane are in the process. Greg and Diane, what's the Little Big Houses?
Yeah.
So,
Little story about Greg and Diane.
Here's the story about Greg and Diane again, right, for the third week in a row. But they had to learn about tax portability and how tax portability affected the sale of their home and the purchase of the new home. They had huge savings because of it. And we sat down and we went over all the math before we even went looking for a house, so they can understand how to do the math, to understand how it was going to impact them.
And what the bill's going to be.
And they were so happy when they saw the numbers, because it was pretty dramatic.
We did that. Jimmy and I went through that.
Yep.
I go through that
over
with
$2,000 a year. Over $2,000 a year we save. Because
with the portability.
Yes, and I'm thinking that if you eliminated property taxes, people would be saving somewhere between, I was just thinking between, $300 and $1,200 a month in their mortgage payment.
If you just eliminated property taxes altogether.
I'm thinking not full property tax. Let's say you have a $10,000 a year bill now, and now it turns into a $3,000 a year bill because the ad valorem goes away. I'm just making it up.
Yep.
Yeah, you that would be a savings of $600 a month right there.
That
right?
part sounds great.
Yeah, but then you got to figure out how you're going to pay for everything that needs to be paid for,
Listen,
and that's where it gets sticky.
My kids are all just about to be out of school. I don't care about the school system anymore. Right?
In May, I don't care about the school system anymore.
Yeah, those kids barely go in.
Right.
That's
true. We have two seniors, and they're both very ill this year.
Oh, it is.
They got
staggering number of kids that don't go to school.
Senioritis. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Senioritis, I like.
Oh, and that's just another level.
I remember having that, but you weren't not allowed to go.
Right.
I mean, my school was strict. This is in Northern Virginia. But if you had 3 unexcused absences in a quarter, you failed that class for the quarter. And if you had 3 tardies, you mean just show up late. And if you had a strict teacher, we're talking 30 seconds late. 3 of those equaled an unexcused absence. So if you had 9 tardies or some combination of tardies and unexcused, you would get an F for the quarter. Nothing you can do about it.
My poor sister, she always got screwed on all those rules. So like when I was 18 in Florida, I was able to start drinking. I was able to go into bars at 18 because Florida had 18. And then right before my sister turned 18, they changed the law to 21. Right?
Oh.
One of the things for school was there weren't any amount of absences where you'd be kicked out of school.
Oh.
So my senior year on my last semester, I don't think the last quarter, I guess schools, I think I had quarters down here. The last quarter, there was 45 days of school. Does that make sense? 45 days or I went less than half the time that you were supposed to. I missed 52% of the classes, right?
Yeah.
And I still was able to graduate. My grades were okay and everything.
You'd already been accepted to
no.
Where'd you go?
I screwed up so bad on college. I went.
You went later.
I left I missed either 2 semesters or 1 semester.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I never filled out the paperwork because I'm so stupid about paperwork. I didn't know how to fill out the paperwork, so I didn't go the first.
What part of him missing half of the classes the last quarter of senior year implies he went to college?
Well, I know he went to college.
No,
So a lot of times,
getting right into college. Like, I can't wait for college. I'm gonna miss half these classes.
MIT, here I come.
Oh, when I went to Palm Beach Atlantic for 1 semester, I failed out of that, but then I became A+ student. Well, not A+, but an A student at University of Florida.
You found your groove.
Yeah. But
Just wasn't
did your dad have to sit you down and be like, Jim, what are you doing? What is your? It's time to F or get off the pot.
No, because
S or sorry.
No, not really.
What are we doing?
No, not really. Once I went to UF and he saw my grades, I was getting like a 3.7, 3.8.
Oh, you showed him your grades?
Oh, yeah.
I can't get my kids to do that.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, we're paying for this, aren't
he
we?
was paying for it, so God bless him. He was paying for it so he could see my grades. But it'll be interesting to see this property tax thing. I don't really think it's going to happen either, Johnny. I think there's just not a way to pay for it. And then it's going to come down to, if they can figure out a way, what they're going to argue is that the people in the lowest economic brackets are going to be the ones that are paying the highest tax costs because of this. That's what other studies I've seen shown over and over again. So I'm thinking they're going to say
you'd have to do a sales tax.
Yeah, I was going to say state sales tax.
Yeah,
to offset it, and
State
then not only do people in Florida pay for it, but tourists.
But there's already so much that comes in through tourism, so much tax already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just going to heap it on them. But Mike did the math. Yeah. You saw how much has to be spent to just recoup
$4,000.
One person's
and I did that at 6%. So imagine, like, they've already got a 6% sales tax. So in order to get my $4,000 property tax bill out of me, I have to have 12% sales tax.
Right.
And I don't know what I spend per year, but do I spend $65,000 a year on like groceries and buying stuff? No,
not in a typical year. I'm going to say no. I don't think close.
Yeah,
I don't think close.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just one property tax filing that we're making up for.
Yeah,
like at about $4,000.
Yeah,
it's just unattainable. Not to make it up. You can eliminate it, but to make it up that's a fantasy world.
Or you just have to cut the budget.
Well,
dramatically,
because it doesn't exist anymore.
And we need the Florida Department of
It's just kind
efficiency.
of it's one of those things. I think when everybody hears it,
flowage.
I think that's the right term. Florida Department of Deficiency.
The
flowage. He just said
I think when everybody hears it, anybody's like, "Yeah, let's not pay taxes." But then when you look at the reality of what happens, you're like, wow, "How do we do that?" That sounds great.
We have a voluntary tax, right? It's like when you go to the car wash and they're like donations, whatever you want. Right. Some guys would pay $1,000, some guys would pay $1.
So
I guess so. Yeah, that's probably the way we should do it.
We had the monthly reports come out. I'm sorry, we had the monthly reports come out since January. The January reports was the first time in.
You want to take a call real quick or no?
Oh, I didn't even see there was a call.
We sure can. 877-927-6969. Who you got there, Jimmy?
Our friend Kelly is checking in. She had a property tax general question. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, long time no see. Miss you all. Justin says hi there, Johnny.
Well, give him my love.
So my question is, with these loans, is that going to affect my taxes or put me in a different tax bracket?
Meaning the down payment assistance money?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
The answer, no, that's going to have no impact on your taxable income. Yeah, there's, you don't pay interest on it, so there's no like interest deduction. So no, zero impact on your federal income tax.
Stated income.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Are there loans out there if you're a parent taking care of a disability child that could help you out a little bit more or no?
Not in particular, although if you're receiving supplemental Social Security income, you can use that for your qualifying income. So if you have a disabled child and you're getting Social Security income, even if that income, sometimes you have an adult disabled child, and the checks come to them. But essentially, if it's in care of whatever, you can use that income under the right circumstances. So it can help from a qualifying perspective.
Excellent.
That could definitely be helpful.
Yeah.
Well, that's what and I'm trying to work with you guys, and I'm looking forward to now. I'm getting my taxes in, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great time, Kelly. If you like, I for me, it's like it's never too soon to see where you stand from a credit perspective, from a debt to income perspective, and from like kind of a cash perspective. It's never too early to get in front of that. And the earlier the better, because if there are certain things you need to focus on, we can really get a kind of a detailed plan of, hey, you know what, over these ensuing months or whatever it is, focus on this, focus on this, focus on this.
Kelly, have you gone to Mike yet? I know that we've talked in the past. Did you actually talk to Mike?
I worked on my credit a little bit.
Yeah.
I worked on my credit a little bit. Not great, not, but we're getting there. And and I think somebody needed to call in and say, what's up, guys? You're doing a great job.
Amazing.
You guys are saving the world one broken home down at a time.
Well, that's great that you're working on everything. And just remember, a lot of people don't, just quick tip here is that you only need to get to 620. After 620, because you're probably going to do FHA financing after 620, it doesn't mamatter.
Yeah, but if we want DPA, it's 640.
Oh, if you have, okay, so we need to get you to
640.
Take it back, 640.
Just kidding.
Yeah, cross that out, then do 640, okay? So once you get to 640, it doesn't matter if you have 750 or 640, you're going to pay the same interest rate, so don't worry about it, okay?
Right, okay.
Awesome.
Well, I thought you guys needed at least one caller and not Johnny C's mom texting on Facebook.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you. Well, again,
I really love you guys, but but those are important questions, and they're it's rough out here, and we're all trying, and there are a lot of houses for sale on the corner of the street, and people don't know what's going on. They're just putting up road signs. Hey, house for sale, open house, come in, let's do this. And they have no idea what's going on. And you guys are legit, real people. So if anybody out there really needs to get a home and needs a group and a program to work, these are the guys, man. These are the guys that are going to do it for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Give our best to Justin. I hope Liam's well. We'll talk real soon, Kelly. Thank you for being with us.
Liam's ready to go in here and get some lunch here. And but just wanted to call in and say we miss you, we love you, and everybody send those emails back to me because we might be ready soon. You know what I mean?
Awesome, I will.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Kelly.
Be well out
Talk
there.
to you soon.
Thank
I can't
you
wait
very
to get
much.
him home. That'll be awesome.
Actually, she pointed out something. It's a good sign for buyers right there. You see a lot of homes for sale, a lot of the for sale signs in the yard, and they're lingering. Good time to be a buyer.
Well, we're not going to get into the full market report today, but we will talk about this real quick, okay? Is that we are now this is Jim DePola's official announcement now, okay? We are now in at least neutral market. We are not in a seller's market anymore. And this is why I'm saying that, is that all 5 counties that I checked, 6 counties, Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, Palm, Broward, Dade, all of them are at 5.5 months of inventory or more.
There you go.
There's actually up to 5.7 months.
So it's officially official, although you have said that we're probably more in a buyer's market for a little while.
It feels like a buyer's market, but I could say that we're officially at least neutral. And the reason why is that normally neutral is 6 months or longer. So what that means, if no other houses go on the market based on current sales, it would take 6 months to gobble up all the homes. That would be a neutral market. If it's a lower number than 6 months, it would be closer to a strong seller's market, higher number, better buyer's market. But we have been hovering in the 5s for quite a while. But this is the first time all the counties are at 5.5 or above. So I feel like we're definitely a neutral towards neutral market, sliding more and more into a buyer's market. And here's some other proof.
Wait, hold on, Jim. You were supposed to tell the big number about the agents.
Oh, I forgot about that. So how many agents how many agents in the United States closed?
That's
at
called
least,
lingering them out with that tease.
That
was the tease, and we're like, we'll give it to you. He's
Yeah.
going to stick around that whole next
I
hour.
was wondering we were going to
So
run out of
Blew it,
time.
Mike.
What percent?
Oh, the next hour.
There's 1.5 million agents in the United States, real estate agents. How many of those, what percentage of those 1.5 million actually close one deal or more?
300,000.
That's not a percentage.
Oh, percent.
300,000%.
300,000
300,000%.
300,000 on.
Well, that would be 20%.
20%.
One deal, just
Yeah.
one deal. That's all I'm talking about for the whole year. Just one deal.
15%.
15%.
I'm going to go much lower.
The real answer
Or
is
25%. What am I? 25%.
71%. I mean, I'm sorry, 29% closed one deal or more. last year.
71% didn't close a deal.
Didn't close
Licensed.
more than one deal for the whole year.
Wow.
Oh, so I actually went with the other way. I went who did close.
Yeah, I know.
At 25%.
But you were right.
Well,
You were
yes,
damn
you were
close.
close.
Yeah, right
So-
there. You're right there, John.
71% of the
I followed
realtors in
Greg's
the United
thought.
States closed one deal or less last year. That's how bad the real estate market was last year. It was pretty crazy.
And those one
Well,
deal
how
that
bad
they
those
closed.
realtors are.
Well, those
Yeah.
are the deals that where it's like your own deal or very close family who were like, who are we
Yeah,
going to hire?
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Johnny, my brother-in-law
Well,
has his license.
know we only
Let's
got-
use
I
him.
know we only have
That's it.
like
That's the guy to go to.
we've only got like 2.5 minutes left. I just want to go through this. This is a really
Plenty
stunning
of time.
statistic. Okay.
Dude, twice.
Of the top 10 highest growth, meaning highest appreciation in 2024, of the top 10 cities, how many of them, there were 5 in one state. So the 5 of the 10 cities that had the highest appreciation were all in one state. What state do you think that was last year?
Jesus,
We've always been.
my gut was Texas, but I don't know if there's 5 cities in Texas.
I would stick with Florida.
Right. That's what you think. Florida, Texas, right?
Mhm.
New York.
Oh.
In fact, how many of the top 10 have the highest growth that come from Florida? 0.
Really?
We normally have 3 to 5, 3 to 6 of the top highest growth areas.
so we
So
had
the
an off
place
year.
where the New Yorkers left went better, and where they came got worse.
Yes. And
What
guess
the
this.
hell?
The
Interesting.
highest appreciation was Albany, New York at 11.3%, 11.2% Rochester, and then Buffalo was 11. Newark, New Jersey was 11.1. Now, in the
Something's
lowest,
wrong. Something's
the
wrong.
lowest
Buffalo.
the lowest appreciation, Cape Coral, negative 2.9, Northport, Florida, negative 1.1, West Palm Beach, 0.3 in the positive, Tampa, 0.8, Fort Lauderdale, 1.8. Remember when I said last year I thought that we'd have nominal to just a little bit of appreciation? We might be pretty close to flat, maybe even a little decrease, but not a lot. That's where we ended up, right? Now that's Redfin.
There's got to be something funky in
Wait,
there. Like
well,
Buffalo is.
None of that makes
It's got to be because
Oh,
the
that
New
makes sense to
Yorkers they
me.
want to.
It
They're
totally makes
exiting
sense
like
to me.
the
No,
densely
I agree
populated
with you.
areas,
Right.
and they're like, we really want to go to South Florida, but it's pretty expensive down there. Maybe we've got to go to Buffalo.
We'll go to Buffalo.
We'll go to
No,
Buffalo instead.
to me it makes a lot of sense because I think that Florida is really slowing down about the amount of people coming here based on what I'm
Well, that
seeing
part,
every day.
sure. But we're talking about the
And we-
appreciation.
And we've already gone up so
Well,
much over the course of the
This
past
is a
10
good
years.
point too. So we had an
And-
off year, but
and when
what
you-
were we leading up to that off year?
And when you have
40%.
cities like Newark that are already way low,
You can't go from 1.8% inventory to 1.8
Yes,
months of inventory
true.
to 5.7 months of inventory and have great appreciation.
It's tough.
However,
part's true.
if you believe the National Association of Realtors, that's exactly what happened because Palm Beach County. So what are you going to believe? The 0.3% price appreciation for
Mhm.
our area, or are you going to believe this? Median sales price, Palm Beach County for January 2025 for single family homes, $650. Which is third highest price ever recorded in single family homes for Palm Beach County. Now, what was it a year ago this year? $615. So they're saying we had a 5.7% increase from last January. Do you really believe that we had does this feel
What
like
is
a
it?
5.7% increase market? No way.
What is it? It's cherry picking. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
there's one average and one median.
So the market is
Mode.
showing. Now, the other thing I think is interesting
We got a
is
boogie.
we only had 850 sales in Palm Beach County for single-family homes. Our normal for the last several years before we went into this slump was about 1,500 homes. So we're doing half the homes what we were doing in a normal market before COVID. Pre-COVID, we were selling 1,500 homes, right?
All right.
So we're only selling half of what we used to sell. So anyway, that's where we are in the stats.
If you're a
today.
buyer, it's a good time to be a buyer.
It's a great time to be a buyer. You're going to get a deal.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to work with the best of the best when you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, you're stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, and you should do just that by going to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. A team of pros like Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Thank you, my brother.
Like Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. I hope you have an excellent weekend.
You know I will.
And like Jimmy D over here, Jim DePolo with the Florida